Alrighty, so we are live. So welcome everyone. If you're a follower of the podcast, or if this is your first time, I'll be a new face. My name is Paul Ansco. I'm the producer for Talking Talent Live, and I'm filling in for Jay today as he's away ill. So rest up, Jay. Next to me, virtually, is the one and only Keela Savelli, guest host extraordinaire. Keela, how you going?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. I want to take a quick moment just to acknowledge the great 6 months we've had with Keela. She's filled in and brought some really amazing expertise to the show. And for anyone who's been following us, just to let you know, this will be Keela's final one with us. So yeah, this is a great episode and a great farewell. And unfortunately, you can't be here, but next time I do see you, we will hand you over a bottle of champagne to say thank you.
Oh.
So...
That's my language. You're speaking my language. Thanks.
All right. And so that brings us to today's guest. We're really lucky to have the very own Carly George, who's currently part of BHP over in Perth. She is joining us today for an amazing conversation. Herself and Keela have got a lot of great talking points. So Carly, welcome.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Okay.
All right. So normally I am off to the side, watching through the chat throughout every episode just to find some really great questions. So by all means, guys, let the questions fly. The best question I will be picking today will be getting one of our swag boxes, but also a copy of James Ellis's new book. So we'll be sending that out to you as well. So let the questions fly. And with that, Keela, I'll hand over to you for Welcome to Country and to kick it off.
Awesome. So for those of us that are joining from around the globe, it's traditional in Australia to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, of which we are meeting on digitally today. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, past, present, and emerging, and welcome any Indigenous members of our audience that are here today. We have a few job openings that we'll be sharing in the newsletter. Some are consumer facing, so consumer brand, some are employer brand, and some are TA. If you are in our community and you're looking for your next gig, definitely look at our newsletter or get in touch with us on LinkedIn and we can share those links. Use the chat, ask questions, don't be shy. Jay's not here today, so we've got to make sure that we've got the most chat that we've ever had, so that way Carly and I can attack it from an employer brand perspective. We miss you, Jay. Hope you're feeling better. Let's kick this off. Carly, welcome to the show. How you feeling?
Look, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna try and enjoy the experience. And I'm looking forward to just talking to you about what I love, right?
Amazing. I think we both have the best jobs in the world. So tell me a little bit about your journey at BHP. You've been there for over 10 years.
Wow. It's been a journey, that's for sure. And I was thinking about this yesterday when I knew this question was going to be asked. Like, I've spent a quarter of my life at BHP. And someone told me a while ago that if you stay someplace for longer than 10 years, you're perceived to be institutionalized. And I was thinking about it, like, am I institutionalized? And I was like, you know what? That might be right for other organizations. But at BHP, I don't think we've ever stayed the same for a year, let alone maybe even 6 months, right? So we're continuously changing and adapting. And my role's not only got bigger and better, and I've grown into that role. But as an organization, we are just constantly looking at the best way that we can do things, the safest way that we can do things. What can we do next? How can we keep growing? What commodities do we need to invest in? So I think the culture of BHP probably pushes you to change and adapt. And it almost feels like I've worked in a million different organizations over the last 10 years. When I first started, this space didn't even exist, right? We didn't really do any proactive recruitment work. I don't know, I'm sure there's people online that maybe are the same with their organizations. And I just kind of crept into this space. I started asking questions. I was like, where's our careers page on our website? We couldn't even find it. I don't even think we were in top level now. I don't even think we were in second level now. I think we were on like third level now. And I'm like,
we've all been there in employer brand. Can we move it from the footer to maybe up here?
So, through, I guess, and I'm not going to say annoying, but I'm sure our digital team would probably say I was a little bit annoying. I managed to push and grow the boundaries of what was possible, from those first questions around the website to then broadening that out to then looking at sourcing and moving to a more proactive approach to how we attracted our candidates to really moving into that recruitment marketing and branding space and then just pushing it out globally, right? So moving from Australia and now we've got Asia, Australia, and Canada, and I have an amazing team. So I've gone from, not even having a website or a team to, we've got a team of 3, we work globally, and there's more work in this space than we can ever do. So yeah, it's been a busy 10 years, that's for sure.
Well, congratulations on 10 years. That's amazing. I don't know anyone that has been in an organization that long, let alone in employer brand. 10 years ago, like you said, it didn't really exist in Australia. So you really are a pioneer in the space. We all have a lot of respect for you. So hopefully that sets the stage for today and you feel a little puffed up on that. So we probably need another 16 hours to talk about your strategy, given that it's global. But can you give us some of the key challenges that your team are looking to knock off over the next few years?
Yeah, so I think I want to be really clear, and this has probably been down to some of my success as well. I don't do employer branding, I guess, at least not in its true sense from an execution perspective, right? So my role and my team's role is really focused on attraction and engagement throughout the recruitment process. That's not to say that the strategy that I use to execute my work isn't exactly the same as what someone would use from a full employer branding perspective, right? And the way that I go about my work can be both internal, so employee facing, but also external and candidate facing. It's just that right now, for my business, we needed people over the last 3 years, right? That was the pressing need in our business, and we had to move the dial. So I guess where the funding and the investment was, it was in that attract piece. I guess some of the big pieces of work that we have going on coming up, I'm sure everybody knows that BHP is pushing towards gender balance. We set the audacious goal a couple of years ago, and we said by FY 2025, so that is in a year's time. It's been an amazing journey. I'll be honest, when I first heard that goal, I was like, are you joking me? Like, what? I work for a mining company. Like, what do you mean I'm going to have to get to do? No, like, how am I going to find female HD fitters? Like, no, this is just not going to happen. This is ridiculous. And I think when you're faced with a problem like that, it really challenges not only yourself to think differently, but it challenges the whole business to think differently about how they do things, right? We went from being BHP. We're BHP. Everyone wants to work for us, which is still true to a point, right? Everybody, I think, wants to work for us anyway. But, we would always get what we've always got. But now we wanted to get something different. And we soon quickly realized that not everyone wants to work for BHP. And if we wanted to really move and change that dial, we were really going to have to do something differently, because those female applications, they weren't just flowing in, right? We put a job up and we got none. So we really had to work. And I think that's probably been to my advantage and my team's advantage, because I had a seat at the table. Our CEO was on board about changing who we recruited. And the only way we were going to do that was by a different strategy. And that strategy was going to take money and time and effort. All the things that normally you don't get in this space.
You can pick one. You can't have all of that. You want money, sure, but not the strategy. You want strategy, sure, but no budget, no resources.
Yes. So we kind of got it all right. Don't get me wrong, it was a massive pressure. We had to prove that it worked, because it would all be taken away. And through a lot of hard work and great leadership, we managed to do that. So I think that's probably been the biggest piece of work that my team and myself have played with over the last 24 months. I think looking forward, we're almost there. Like, we're not there yet. I'm confident that we're going to get either pretty close to it or, not far off it. I think for me, it's then moving to what does my customer want now and what do they want next and what's the BHP of the future going to look like and what's the skill set going to be required to take our organization to the next level. So we've got this amazing diversity through our organization and a diversity of thought, but what are the skills and what are the levels and where are we going to find them? Because mining's a declining industry. So if I think about my pain point at the moment, right, is what do I do if I can't find any more mining engineers or geotechnical engineers because they simply don't exist? So, I'm super lucky. My children hear about mining every day. I talk about it, it's what I do. Mummy goes to work, there's a mine site, she wears PPE, and I talk about mining engineers and how important they are and geotechnical engineers. But I'm not sure the rest of the households, either across Australia or the globe, do that. So what's the next generation going to look like? And how are we going to move that forward to make sure that, my customers, so my GMs and my sites keep being able to produce, the assets that the world needs to move into a cleaner future. Because let's be honest, we can't move to the future without us, right? So we want the best minds to keep pushing and keep thinking and keep making things better for the world. So yeah, that's a big problem to solve. I'm not solving it alone, definitely not. But I think our messaging needs to change, not only to future candidates, but parents or to students, to universities. It's a big problem.
I don't want to tell you what usually goes on at the dinner table in my house, but it usually has to do with Bluey, the giggles instead of the wiggles, because my boys can't say wiggles yet. So I think you're at an elevated status conversation in your house. Let's backtrack a little bit. You talked about that convincing of your stakeholders in the C-suite and having the seat at the table to be able to have these conversations and really convince them that your strategy, resourcing, and the budget that needs to go behind everything can be put into play. How did you get that across? I assume that it wasn't just one meeting and it was over a number of conversations, a number of media, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about the how you got that across.
So for me, most of my big budget came from the strategy of increased gender balance, right? So I'm not going to claim any work or credit for that, but day to day, we're constantly pitching and managing our budget for smaller campaigns or to keep our budget, right? Sometimes I just do stuff. I'm not going to lie, and my boss is probably listening on this call right now. But I take calculated risks with some of the work that I do. I know it'll work because I do the research, right? And I understand our customers and I understand our candidates and I know where to find them. And sometimes you just have to go out and do it. And then you come back to your stakeholders with the results, right? You're like, look at what I've done. Look at what's happened. I work for an organization that loves data. They love metrics and they love things being exact. They're engineers. It's their job, right?
Yeah.
This space isn't exact. There's so many variables in it and there's so many different things that's changed. You've got to try and tell a story that relates to your stakeholders. So for me, I try and tie everything that I do into data so that they have something that they feel comfortable with. But I'm super precise and also saying that this isn't an exact science. I can't guarantee you that if you spend X amount of thousands of dollars and we run this campaign across all of these channels, that you'll be able to fill your roles. It doesn't work. So I try and talk about it in things that they'll understand. So the best example that I've got is as I talk about like buying a car. So you don't buy a car every day, but you can tell me the brand of car that you would buy if your car broke down. Or when your lease is about to end, you know which car you're going to purchase, right? And you know that because BMWs and Mercedes, Kias, they have TV ads. They, when you Google cars, they follow you around with that programmatic advertising. That's what we're doing. So not that we're brainwashing our candidates, but we're just putting ourselves in the best spot so that if someone has a crummy day at work or, if they miss out on a promotion, instead of going to, and I'm sure there's people on the call, instead of going to Rio, they come to BHP, right?
Oh, snap. She said it. Fighting words.
We just want them to think more favorably about us when they have that day. And I think that's what you've got to do when you talk to the C-suite about this. This is not an exact science. but you've got to use what makes them feel comfortable. So I talk about impressions and click-through rates and page views and applications, but I'm really, really, really careful to also use a story to back not only the data up, but look, someone might see my advert for 6 months, and then they might just go to the website and apply. That's success to me.
Yep.
And it's not.
There's nothing that's linear either.
Yeah, and for me, that's the most important stuff. So, I think it's just knowing your audience, knowing what's important to them. So before I take a piece of work, I'll ask them, what does success look like to you? Like, if I do this well, what are you expecting from me? And then I also decline work. So, sometimes people come at me and they're like, oh, we want to do this and we need to attract all these people and all of this. And I'm like, it's not going to work. I don't want your money because I'm.
Carly, I had so many questions to ask before, but I need to interrupt you there. What the hell does that look like, declining work? Because I don't see that very often and I want to learn how to do it elegantly.
Look, I put my customer at the heart of everything I do. And I have a lot of customers. And there's only one of me and my amazing team of, people that are trying to do that work. And I want to do work that's going to deliver to my customer. And sometimes my work's not going to deliver what they need. If we need a really specific skill set, say only 300 of them exist in Australia, right? They want to go in newspaper, they want to run a recruitment marketing campaign, they want to do X, Y, and Z. The cost of them not finding that person means that the mine site is either stopping production or it's slowing down, right? So we're losing thousands of dollars a day because they can't find this person. I'm like, my campaign's not going to work. Go to an agency. This is not the best solution for your problem. And I think that's probably key with every piece of work I do. What are you trying to achieve? What does good look like? This is what I can do. Are you comfortable with this? So, we want to go on radio. Okay, that's cool. We'll go on radio, but you need to know there is no real return on investment that I can show you. I can't connect the dots because someone's heard the radio advertisement and then they've made an application. It might work, it might not, but you need to be comfortable that you're not going to get that ROI on the spend that you're making. Yes, I do think it'll have an effect because I've done my research, right? I know that this radio station is played across mine sites in the Bowen Basin, for example, right? So I know that it's a calculated risk, but I can't guarantee them that it'll work.
Okay, so we talk about attracting. What about retention? So tell me about that leaky funnel internally and how are you looking to stop that?
Right now, I'm going to be super honest. My role isn't retention. So I deliver to my customers. For the last couple of years, my customers needed people. And that's how my team grew and adapt, right? So I was really strategic in where's the needs, what can I deliver? Now, things are changing. And I am well aware that there is only so long that I can keep piling people into the top of the funnel without we need to address the bottom of the funnel and what we're doing from an internal perspective. And I think if we have this conversation in 12 months' time, I'll have a different answer. But for now, look, I'm well aware retention is part of the puzzle, right? And you can't keep throwing money at attract because they're just going to, hopefully they're not going to fall out the bottom. But look, if I worked for another organization and I wanted to hire some people, I'd be fishing at BHP. So I'm well aware that we're a right fishing ground and, tables are going to turn and we're going to start losing some of our employees to other organizations as they catch up to us.
Well, I've hired somebody from BHP before, Tim Gardner, if he's on the line, and he was incredible and still is at RMIT. So you've done well. You grow them well at BHP.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the next topic. So, a lot of times in recruitment, we're told that the more applications are better, but we know that that's not always the case. Can you tell us a little bit about your approach about finding the right audience at the right time in the right place for the right job to be super right?
Yeah, but I think it's a real mindset change to be like, but I got 5,000 or 10,000 or 120,000 clicks on my advert. That's definitely what I needed. Really? Did you really need that? Or did you just need one click from the right person with the right skill and the right background to be hired for one role? Like, let's be honest, right? I'm not a consumer product. You can't buy a job at BHP like you could buy a can of Coke, right? So we need to be really targeted in our messaging. And I think that comes down to knowing who we're after and knowing our audience, but also knowing what we are, right? So I feel like you can't be all things to all people. And we're not all things to all people, because you know what? I don't want all people to apply to BHP. I want the right people to apply for BHP. I want people that have done their research, that understand that many of our roles are thousands of kilometers away from home. And yeah, you get paid really, really well, but man, it's really hard. So you've got to think about these things, right? It's not an easy way out. And the reason our people get paid so well is because they work so darn hard. And, you know, they get dirty, it's cold, they're away from home, they do night shifts. And I think, you know, we need to carve our campaigns, and we do that, to be really authentic with that messaging. So we use our own people and their own experiences in the area that we're trying to attract. So look, if we're trying to attract maintenance personnel, we'll use our own maintenance employees to talk to their experience at BHP. But we'll also use research. So none of the work that I do is based on my opinion or my thoughts. It's based on the market that we want to attract, and their thoughts and opinions, either on BHP or their thoughts and opinions on, you know, what they want from a job. And then we use our own people. And, you know, why do you work at BHP from a maintenance perspective? And we match it up. Sometimes it doesn't match, right? So sometimes what the market wants and what we offer isn't quite right, but we go with whatever commonalities we can find, because that's how marketing works. We talk to the people in a voice that they understand, with people just like them that they can identify with and be like, oh, she's just like me. Hang on a minute. She's a single parent. How does she do FIFO? Oh my God, like if she can do it, well, maybe I can do it. And we use, you know, marketing tactics to make sure that our messages are pushed out to the right audience at the right time. So, you know, we push awareness campaigns out, and then we'll maybe pump it a bit more with more direct type marketing. We're on channels where we know our candidates are going to be, or where they're probably going to be more receptive to our message. And we change it. So what works for one campaign, like say maintenance, isn't going to work for mining engineers, or it's not going to work for geotechnical engineers, or it's not going to work for someone that's at a different stage of life. So we have many cross sections, and I guess personas that we build up of our candidates and market that we want to attract. And we target and tailor every single marketing campaign or message to the market that we're trying to attract, I guess.
We have the questions coming through hot, and I'm going to go in the order that I also want to hear the answers for. Naomi asked, how do you typically undertake this research on market or candidate preference? Are you relying on external companies to do that, to host those surveys, or is it something that you're doing internally?
So for us, we use external companies to do that, but I know that not everybody on the line or listen to the call probably has that sort of a budget. When I first started, I actually aligned with our brand team, who I know do quarterly brand surveys and shareholder and stakeholder surveys. And I actually got them to add in a couple of questions for free into their survey to back up. And then obviously as it's grown, I do my own research now. But there's heaps of free research, right? So one, you've got candidates, you know, so you can survey your candidates and ask them why they've applied for a job with you, what are their preferences. Yes, it's not completely unbiased because they've made the jump to apply, but it's still better than no research. You have your internal employees. Why do you stay? Why do you remain? Why do you not leave? Like, you can then pull those things together. And then you have great tools like Seek, Indeed, LinkedIn, you know, a wealth of information that can just give you that direction, right? Just hone the direction that you're going in. So it's no longer Carly's opinion. It's, hey, we've done a bit of research, and it can still be, this is what we think. Because remember, it's not an exact science. So you could pay millions of dollars on the research and your campaign could still flop. But you're giving it your best shot. So yeah, just something.
I find that you generally, working with your stakeholders or your customers, as you call them, you get a hunch for who the right candidate might be or what they might want, doing, small EVP research internally. But then when you go to, LinkedIn Insights, the laws of attraction with Seek, potentially even using Randstad if you're in an Australian business and going through some of their annual data, it really justifies or proves that hypothesis really well. And that supplemental data paints a really strong picture for your customer group. So you can actually, give them that pack and justify the spend or justify the campaign that you're looking to run. So I'm pleased that you're also taking that approach, because I think a lot of us are, and we're all kind of doing the right thing, if that's the word that you can apply to it. So thanks for that response. Evan asked a really great question about how you're attracting graduates. I'm going to hold on that because our next topic is going to be a little bit more about that talent attraction. But Tim asked a great question about, unemployment is sitting at 3.5% right now in Australia. What are you focusing on other than just pay as salary as such to convert candidates to hires?
It's a really great question. So we aren't in our sector the biggest payer. So, we don't pay the most money. If you wanted to make heaps of money in mining, you probably go work for a contracting firm, right? And you can work 4 weeks at a time and stack the money away. I think we use the other probably non-tangible benefits. We are the world's largest mining organization, right? For a lot of people, we offer stability and we offer exceptional, and I don't want to sound like a BHP sell, but this is what we offer: exceptional career development opportunities that you may not get in a smaller organization. And I think we're trying to pull those levers more with the market. We know that for some frontline employees from the research, that they care about the dollar and what's in it for them. I don't necessarily know if those would be the best employees for BHP. So we try and look at everything else that we can offer: flexibility, roster sharing, extended leave. We have heaps of policies to look after our people to make them feel safe at work, which maybe some of the smaller organizations don't, or maybe are still akin to how mining used to be, or the older perceptions of mining. I say that the BHP of today is, it's like normal people. Like, we're all just normal people going about our day with heaps of respect and integrity. And I think that's what sells it. People sell BHP. Our people sell BHP. I know that from the research, and I think if this is a common thread to take from this call, is do your research. The research says that it's a leader. People leave a job most of the time for a leader, and people would remain at a job for less money with a great leader, right? Or that they were working for great people. So I feel like that's the advantage we have over any other organization, is the people that we have here.
So tell us a little bit more about your people. You, like a lot of us, work in a male-dominated industry. You have gender metrics that you're looking to hit by 2025, you've mentioned. Tell us a little bit more about the branding campaigns that have actively targeted women.
So we did work in a male-dominated industry. We don't anymore. So we're getting close to that gender balance. We've moved the dial on that, which is amazing. Look, I think you need to know what you have to offer, and what we had to offer a diverse candidate base, and then know what opportunities we had that they could possibly match to. So we knew that we weren't necessarily going to find skilled people in our industry. They exist, and they exist in much higher volumes now, but when we started this problem, they didn't. So I'm super thankful that BHP invested time, money, and effort into things like the Future Fit Academy, right, which allowed us to train new to industry people up in like an apprenticeship or a trade or a mechanical skill set super quickly. And it allowed us just to take on more people at scale and get them properly trained up, and then, start in their career with us way more quickly than what they would have been able to do the conventional ways. So I was lucky that we put in place strategies and opportunities for those people. But what the problem still is I don't want to work in mining. It's dirty, it's dusty, it's full of men, like it's hard work, it's 12 hours a day, like all of those things. And I think we did the research and we knew what the barriers were, right? And what we then did was we went and we spoke to our people. Well, hang on a minute. Why do you work here? Like, what's important to you? Why do you still work here? Like, why do you work 12 hours a day? Why do you work away from your kids for a week at a time? Like, you know, as a parent, this must be really hard. And we found so many amazing nuggets of like, didn't even think of it like that. So, you know, example, someone was like, I used to work in hospitality. I used to work shifts. Like I was home every night or every morning. I was always tired. I was never there for my family. Like it was just a grind day to day. And they're like, yeah, I'm away for a week now. But you know what? On the week that I'm home, I'm home. I take them to school every day. I go to everything that I need to do. I have a life on the week that I'm off and I'm not just living for work. So we honed in on some of those messages and we're like, actually, you know what? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like that we can do that. And we focused it around those key things. So we didn't overpromise at any point throughout our messaging, right? Because we still know what we are. And we know it's hard and we know it's a big ask, but we just slowly crept into people's, I guess, perception of what mining was. And we challenged it. And we challenged it across so many different channels at so many different times, right? So I don't think there's a medium that we haven't used throughout this campaign at some point, whether it be TikTok, Spotify, digital advertising, advertorials, Facebook, Instagram, AdWords, just to make sure that we were positioning ourselves front and center. It was hard and we made mistakes. But the great thing about doing all this online or digitally, you can see pretty quickly if you've made a mistake because it doesn't work. And then you switch it and you change it. And then you try something else. So through, I guess, adapting and changing, we pushed it out. And I think probably one of the biggest wins for this campaign was that we aligned with our brand team. And they wanted to do focus groups and they wanted to do, you know, what do people think of this? And what do people think of that? And I was like, I don't have the money and I don't have the time. Is this going to get us into trouble or not? Is this going to damage our brand? Yes or no? Well, no, it's not going to really damage. Okay, perfect. We're just going to run it live and we're just going to run with it because if anything, I'm going to pull it down. And that was kind of how we did it, right? We quick, dirty, get out there and push it out. And look, I don't want to give too many secrets away, but we've moved female applications from around 17%. So that's probably what we were when we started on this journey. And we're now probably sitting at about 30 to 32% female applications month on month.
Incredible.
Which is a phenomenal achievement, right? But that's just literally, people would never consider us, right? And we've just made more people consider that BHP could be someplace that they could work. Putting more in the top of the funnel should hopefully mean that more comes out the bottom.
I always ask this question and it's super annoying, but we all want to know, how are you measuring? What tools are you using? What tech sits behind this story?
Yeah, okay. So I have an amazing media partner that helps me with a lot of the digital marketing and digital media. They are amazing. It's been a journey. So we've worked with them from the start and it's been really hard to convince them that, again, I don't care about numbers. If you are putting something in, for example, the Courier Mail, right, which is an Indigenous only newspaper, and we only get 5 clicks or 5 follow-throughs, guess what? Those are 5 clicks that I want. And I will pay money for those 5 clicks because that's something that is really important to my business. And I don't care about the cost per click, right? Like I care about getting the actual person because that's more important to me. And then some of the other metrics that I use are really simple. So I use source of candidate that comes through our ATS. I think most ATSs will have that. We do a lot of Google Analytics and Google tracking and website tracking so that we can see where people are coming from. And we also do location tracking on our website. So if we're going to run a specific campaign in a specific location, we'll try and hone in on, have we seen a peak? Have we not? Has it worked? And really small areas, right? So we have operations in Kalgoorlie we ring-fenced Kalgoorlie on our website to see if a campaign that we were running caused an influx in that area, and that shows success as well. So I try and pull a multitude of things together to do that. I think the key though is I never talk to actual applications as being a success of a campaign as a total, right? Because I can bring people to our website and I can bring them in volume, but what I can't control is having the right opportunity at the right time. And I also then can't control the process because I'm not the line leader, right? So, they might be the perfect candidate for BHP, but not for that leader. Or a different process. So I really try and talk to, my job is to bring people to the website. Yes, sometimes I might run bespoke campaigns that's function is to drive actual applications, but I never guarantee it. You just can't, right? I can say, like, based on the research and based on everything that I know, this is the best educated guess of this working, but never guarantee it. And I think, I can't control the gender balance of our organization. It's not something that's within my sphere of control. And I try not to talk to that as a success of our work. So I probably stop it at applications. And to be honest, I only really talk about that if I get pushed. So I more keep it in this awareness piece of, something has to happen for someone to apply for a job. I can't control when that something's going to happen, but I can make sure that we're in the best spot that when it does, that they're going to pick us. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. I think that's the difference between driving traffic to a specific job, to a career site, and then talent pools to keep them warm and build that candidate experience. So when there is the right opportunity for the right person, you can hand that off to talent and have them manage that conversation. Is that how you're managing it in those 3 different funnels?
So I'm going to be honest. We need to work on our actual once someone applies or the option for that part at BHP. We probably don't do that as well as we should do. Talent pooling is something that is a contentious issue, right? Because people can get told that they're put in a talent pool and then nothing happens to them. And they're like, I'm in this talent pool for ages, never heard anything from them. So I think we're sitting on the fence of, look, we'll do that when we know we can do it really well. And until that point, I would much rather proactively let the candidates come back to us when it was the right time for them and get them to sign up to job alerts. So the onus isn't then on us to I guess, tell them when there's an opportunity. The onus is still on them to find the right opportunity and come back, and we would keep bouncing them back. In an ideal world with a massive team, of course, I would love to have, talent pools that we send out newsletters to every month to tell them all about the opportunities and what's happening at BHP. But it's right now, it's not realistic.
It's good that you know that. Talent pools is, I think, something that's can be done easily, but can it be done well? Most of the time, no. And it really does require resource. It requires actual content that people want to read, and doing it more often with crap content goes against everything that you've just worked towards to get people through a funnel. So those are really humble and great points that you've made. Evan has asked a few questions about how you're attracting graduates, and then also thinking about that candidate funnel. What flaws do you think that there are currently that present in the graduate recruitment process? So if you can pivot from gender to now a little bit more about the graduate recruitment, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So graduate's my favorite space, by the way, because it's the space that you can play in the most and have the most fun, I reckon. That's not to say that it's not hard or I'm not undervaluing it. I started my life as a grad recruiter and I'm always going to have a soft spot for it. I think in the grad space, BHP is still really lucky that grads want to work for us, right? So that we have that strong attract pool. I think it's diminishing though, because that generation is starting to want to work, in a consultancy basis, or they're not necessarily wanting to go to a mine site, or there's more things that are being put in the way of, I guess, our traditional graduate roles and how we're going to recruit them. Our grad recruitment strategy is very similar to any other acquisition strategy that we would use. So we know our graduates that we want to target, we know where they are, we know what universities they're studying at, and we engage with them as early as we can through, face to face, getting our people out on campus. But we also do recruitment marketing strategies, right? So we partner with, Prospo, Grad Connection to get our name out there, but we also do it ourselves. So we spend budget and money on making sure that awareness piece, right? Because we go back to it's the same principles. Back to that awareness piece, that we make sure that we start priming our market before we need them. Sending out messages that BHP could be a place that they want to work. We've done really well this year. We've managed to, I think we got the most applications that we've had in a really long time. I don't know if it's just the state of the market or all of the work that we've all been doing. With regards to our process, look, it still takes too long. I think anyone that works in an organisation the size of BHP, we're complex. Nothing about what we do is easy. There's many different handoff points and many different processes that we need to follow to keep our people safe, but also to make sure that we do the due diligence, and it takes time, and other organizations are quicker than us. And I think in the grad space, I think we're going to be slow. Like if I think, and I hate to say this because we're in it right now, but if I think about our offers and where we're sitting, I think we're going to be, instead of being first, we're probably going to be further down the chain, and I'm not sure if we'll get all of the talent that we want to get because of that. So my advice would be to be quick.
Be quick for the kids.
Yeah, don't just waste, you're wasting your time, right? If you bring them all in and then you have a really slow or crummy process, you've lost them, because they're not going to wait around for you because they want a grad offer. So I'm kind of like, do it quickly, get them.
Yeah, they're not only applying to you too, so whoever first in, best dressed sometimes. Rachel asked another great question. Has BHP established any other strategic recruitment metrics beyond candidate source?
Yeah, so we have our candidate engagement survey. So BHP survey all of our candidates, whether they are successful or unsuccessful at various points throughout our journey. And we do a candidate experience score and metric. So we have that. We have all the standard ones as well, such as time to fill. But I think the candidate experience one is probably really relevant again to this audience, because our process, or what we're trying to do, is we want to give our candidates the best experience that we can so that they get the best impression of BHP throughout the process. And I think the only way you can do that is to know what the pain points are in your journey from your candidate's perspective, right? I know it takes too long because I read that survey. I know that if something goes wrong or you don't go through, when everything goes smoothly, normally it goes really well. But if you have like a kink in your journey, it seems to avalanche and snowball, and we can't seem to get that kink out. So I think in reading or knowing your candidate's experience, you can deliver a better service.
What tool are you using to survey?
We use Qualtrics, but there is a multitude out there. I'm sure you're going to share one.
I share it every episode, so I'm getting super annoying with it, but we use benchmarks, and that's Circle Back Initiative. That's their tech tool that sits behind the candidate experience surveying. Can't say better things about it.
I was just going to say, Carly, with with trying to get people to engage with surveys and actually get that research piece, have you always found it to be quite easy to get that information, or have you had to kind of install some tactics along the way to kind of increase engagement and get that research?
Look, I think with surveys, you have to be really aware that people generally only fill them out if they're super pissed off with what's just happened, or if they're really, really happy, right? And the way that I look at it is, hopefully that kind of comes to the middle to give me like a middle point of what's going on. I think the value in the surveys for me, though, is in the commentary. So reading about someone's situation and what's happened, especially if they've had a negative experience, for me, that's worth, I guess, far more than the aggregate score that flashes up green, right? Or flashes up red. Don't get me wrong, it's really important to my stakeholders and it keeps the money and the funding coming in. But the changes that we make come from the comments. So we got comments last year that no one knows your process. It's really complicated. We don't know what comes next. We don't know the steps. If you go onto our careers page now, every single job ad has our process at the bottom. So it has an infographic that says, this is what happens, this is where you go. And it's up to you then whether you read it or not. And then I think Brad just said, have you implemented any strategies to deliver a better experience for candidates who aren't shortlisted to interview? Look, we try, and we've not got it perfect yet. So we try where we can to provide feedback, and we use feedback through our provider of our video interviewing, which is HireVue. So everyone that goes through our HireVue video assessment gets given like a 1-page piece of information that tells them what they did well and what they didn't. I think you also sometimes just need to accept, right, that you didn't make it to interview. I'm really sorry. I would love to be able to give you some individual feedback as to why you didn't make it to interview. But sometimes I don't know, like either you don't have the skill sets or you don't have, the degree type, or we only wanted to interview 3 people and you just missed out. Also, we have 500,000 applications a year, right? So if anyone has a solution on how to get better at that at the scale and volume that we have, I'm super open to hearing it.
I've been saying ChatGPT could be your bestie. No, yes. Is that HireVue feedback given by person or by AI?
It's given in a PDF document and it would be given through the HireVue system. So I'm assuming it would just be on how they've scored through their assessment based on certain criteria.
Thank you. So, Carly, you've been incredible, so confident, and I think everyone has really gotten a ton out of this. I say this every episode, but I mean it even more every episode, that we could probably keep talking and talking and talking, and really just crack into your strategy. We ask our attendees to ask a question to the next guest to kind of bamboozle them. Paul, do you mind putting on the question from Alex McVeigh?
Yeah, I'll pull it up now. Perfect segue as well after Evan's question. So we'll get that playing. Let me know if you have any issues hearing it, but it should work through just fine. So here it is.
Which we did. So just before we started the session today, we booked in Carly from BHP. So
yes, Carly George.
We're able to give Alex a heads up of who you're actually. We don't always know who the question's for, but in this case we do. So fire away. What question do you want us to continue the journey with Carly on?
Yes, and everyone should definitely join that one. Hi, Carly. Good luck. My question, and I hope nobody's asked it recently, but I didn't see it in any recent episodes, is do you see AI as more of a threat or an opportunity for EB professionals?
Good one.
Cool.
Love it.
Cool. Love it.
Wow, that's a question and a half, isn't it? Talk about a contentious issue. So this one I'm going to talk about personally, not based on any research. Firstly, ChatGPT is banned at BHP at the moment. You can't get on it from our systems and our computers. But I think it's absolutely awesome if it's used in the right way. So if we think about a piece of work, right? Sometimes the hardest thing about a piece of work is to start. You're like, oh, what do I need to do? How do I need to do it? If you spit some of your like random musings into ChatGPT, it can come up with some ideas and just some ways to like start your work off. I don't think in this space you can ever use it to do your work, right? Because if we go back to some of my principles, it's around authenticity. It's not really all that authentic. But it can definitely, I think, help save you time, energy, and money on pulling out some of those frameworks, just and giving you a starting point. So I use it for my personal stuff because I can't use it on the work stuff yet. And it just really helps. Like it saves me time. Like, oh, I don't know the answer. Tell me about this. How do I do this? I don't think we should be scared of it. I think, we need to embrace everything and change and adapt as the world changes. Yesterday, actually, I went on Canva, and you know that you can go on Canva and type in, like, I want to see a person I said a person cuddling a pig just to see if it could find me an AI image of that, because I wanted to see, and I was like, oh my God, like, I think, like, I don't know what the world's going to be like in the future, but I'm excited. I'm in for the ride.
That's awesome. I am totally freaked out by AI, but like in a good way. I feel like I might be feeding the beast that this like robot is going to take over. And I was talking about it in a podcast that I did yesterday. I was like, this is so freaky, but I can't stop looking. It's like driving near an accident on the highway. You got to like slow down and look. I'm here for it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think to your point as well, Kelly, like I myself use it as a search engine, like in the same way I use Google, like just for ideas and that kind of thing. Because, there's obviously stories coming out that lawyers are being disbarred because they've used it to do their summaries, and ChatGPT is creating fictional cases, and it's just like not even true. So it's not a perfect tool. So absolutely, I think err on the side of caution, but it can be our best friend.
Just take it as that, right? It's just something else in your toolkit that can help you get your job done. Just, it's not to do your job, because, geez, wowzers. But yeah.
Can you imagine? So, do you have a question for our next guest?
Yeah, I do. So my question is, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been listening that are either starting out in this space or might not have a dedicated team to do this type of work. What would be the one piece of advice you would give them in the area that you think they should focus on, I guess, first, or if they're going to start attacking this problem?
Great. Love that. Yeah. I think it's just such a universal question that so many people, regardless of where they are on their journey, everyone's got their own interpretation and their anecdotes. So yeah, great question. Thank you for that.
Paul, over to you for the best question that was asked today.
Yeah, look, I think it was
tough one.
Well,
so many.
They start flying in, so I really love to see that. But I think it was definitely Tim. Great, very topical question with the employment rates and whatnot. How does it affect it? And yeah, that was an awesome question. So Tim, make yourself known. We'll be getting you one of our swag boxes and also a copy of James Ellis's employer branding and small business. So yeah, we'll be getting that to you as soon as possible.
Awesome. Well, Carly, I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. You were stellar. And thank you again.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Carly. And thank you everyone else, and we'll see you soon.